Okie doke. Got the iPad there. Now I just need to connect the pen. Du-du-du. I want Bluetooth. Give me Bluetooth. Okay, 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 okay. Ah, just give me Bluetooth, will you? Aha. Cool. So, got the iPad, I got the checklist here. I've got the charts. I'm using the real world charts, so I'm not using Navigraph. And then I've got UPad, which keeps crashing. Great. Some little squiggles I've done. uh, and then NB. What's this? Oh, I don't want this. Yeah, that's some of the planning I did for a video, which never came to be, unfortunately. So how do I quit this? Not a good start. I thought I was ready. Boy, was I wrong. It's the beginning of a great film. Uh, just let me go back in the menu. How do I go back in the menu? Menu. Um, let's see. So you got Untitled here. So if I click on Untitled, that hides it. There you go. There you go. There you go. New one. We want lined paper. And now, obviously this doesn't have the palm rest thing, but it seems to work all right. Cool. Let's go. Let's undo this. Excellent. So now we can copy the ATIS and whatnot. Right, I'm using a DA42 checklist for a DA62, but that's just because I'm going to practice the flows like that. And there are some minor differences. For example, on the DA42, you'll have a um, one key starter, which will do both engines by turning it in different directions. The de-icing system is on that side. Flap lever looks basically the same. Speeds are relatively similar, and power settings are relatively similar. We got this, which normally is for the rudder pedals, but if you click on it, magic feet, and definitely off center. Got a problem with my head. I'll fix that in a second. And then here, you've got the voter switches, the A and B and auto, which is perfect because we're going to test all of those. And then the lights will be here, and then the standby instruments are here normally in DA42 instead of here, and they'll be gyroscopic ones rather than the sort of electric like iPhone type screen ones, which is cool. So let's get rid of this gentleman. I think it doesn't do wonders for performance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the flows, and then if I bring up the chart. So this is the airport. We're like sort of in the area like at the bottom right there. And so if you look at here, like sort of like out at the south of stand 5, like in more of a general aviation place. And what we're going to do is we are going to look at this. We've got an omnidirectional departure for runway 33, and it's pretty easy. Climb straight forwards with a minimum of 350 feet per nautical mile, so 5.7 degrees, no problem, with a minimum turning altitude of 600 feet. I've spoken to someone who flies at Trollhattan, and they say that typically what you do is you take off, you go straight ahead up to 1,000 feet, then you make a left turn to hold at Papa Golf if you're doing IFR training here, which is what I'll be doing today. So I've done ILSs to death. I've done the NDB once. I really don't like it in this airport. I kind of want to get my hands into the RNAVs a little more. So I figured what I could do is looking here. Got NDB for runway 15 and an NDB for runway 33, but we've got an RNAV for runway 33. So my thought is that we enter the holds that you would use for the ILS runway 33, and then after that we leave the hold, and we'll get a like say GT 640, um, And instead of doing the typical like omnidirectional departure where you climb to 1,000 feet, then turn right into the hold, we'll give ourselves a random heading, like sort of like like 270 or something, right? And then and then what we can do is we'll fly 270 for a bit. We'll experience an engine failure. I'll fail one of my engines. We will then um, we'll then come back to land, or come back into the hold, and then we'll do the whole thing on a single engine. Just because I haven't done much single engine right now, and it would be good to practice some. Right, cool. So with that done, just realized there's another NDB here, the Foxtrot mic, which I haven't done yet. Fine. So with that plan out of the way, let's start doing our flows. 1 second. And how's like if you're watching? I hope the location of the iPad's okay. I thought that was good. It's like a little weird design wise, but I figured that might be an acceptable place for it. And it is lovely weather. I was hoping to get some clouds or something like fly in the clouds, but you know the weather is what the weather is. We're using live weather, and we are on VATSIM as well. So we got center EDGG. I don't think that affects us. So because we're on flight sim and we're doing IFR, I am going to file an IFR flight plan. So I'm just going to say IFR training holds and approaches. And then we're going to do ESGT, ESGT, and then as far as airports in the vicinity, I'm going to cheat and use a VFR chart here because I genuinely don't know the area at all. So give it a couple hundred years for it to load in. And if that doesn't work, what I might do is I don't want to open any more apps because this iPad is really slow and struggling. I know, what I can do is I actually open it on my phone. So if I go into Sky Demon on my phone, so that's what I'm doing right now, while this widget opens, let's see what's going to be faster. And then I'm going to select on my Sky Demon on my phone ESGT, Trollhattan, there it is. An airport nearby could be ESGO. That doesn't look too bad. Let's see. Vargarda, information. Let's look at the plates. It's quite a small airport. I think it's VFR only, which technically we shouldn't be allowed to use that for IFR, but whatever. Or about ESGA, Bakamo Airfield. Let's look at the sky. No, that's just a grass runway. Probably won't have any approaches. ESGL, information, Sky Demon plate, same deal. I think what I will do, this is what happens when you don't use sort of Navigraph or you don't do your planning properly. I'm gonna go back to ESGT, and then I'm going to select Herhuga Airfield. Let's see this one. No. Okay, so we're gonna go with Vargarda. I think I've been there before, I'm not sure. Which is an ICAO code of Echo Sierra Golf Oscar. I'm gonna put Echo Sierra Golf Oscar in my alternate. And the flight time we're expecting will be about an hour 20 total. It'll be less. We'll do this for a lot less long. But now we have that flight plan in the system, which is phenomenal. And what we can do is we can start our flow. So I'm going to bring up the checklist. Boom. And let's get started. So start down here. Fuel pumps are off. Fuel selectors are normal. Pushed forwards. You got the trim set. Throttle idle. Parking brake is set. The bit underneath here, that's fine. This is fine. This is down. Is this down? Is this down? This is up. I don't know why it's up. This is down. These are all down, 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 down. These are on. These are set on auto, which is what we want. This is fine. We're looking here. All the lights are off. Instruments are looking undamaged. None of the circuit breakers have popped. ELT is armed. And flap settings are up. Great. So next, we're going to turn on the electric master. Wait until it fires up. And so while this is firing up, I would then use this to set my rudder because these are electric. So what happens in this aircraft is that the seat itself is stationary, but the actual, oh, this is new. I don't have that on the Da62. Cool. So the seat is new, but the seat is fixed, but the pedals are electrically driven, so they move back and forth, and so that's how you set the distance from your pedals. And everyone else, same height on the seat. Tough luck if you don't like it. Right, while the AHRS centers, we'll continue with this. So once I've done that, I can go ahead and I can test this. So let's see if this works. Cool. So when we push it down, we're going to hear the ping. And then you can see you've got the message, the warning messages. You can see these are on. See, the unsafe should come on, and so should the flaps. So not everything is modeled quite yet, but we'll call it a successful test. And then we'll get the flaps in. So flaps all the way down. Oh, intriguing. So I set this to I set sorry, I set this to an axis, but clearly it's not working as it should. Cool. So that's all set. The flaps are down. We check visually they're both down evenly, and we check that the indication is correct. Next, we're going to do what's called the variable elevator backstop test. And so what this does is basically the Da42 has some strange flight characteristics, and I think the Da62 is the same. And so when you have the flaps down, you have increased elevator authority. And the issue with that is that you can easily over control. So in the real aircraft, you pull the stick all the way back, and then when you apply full power, you got what's called the elevator backstop. And so it's like a little mechanical whirring that will push the stick forwards just a smidge to reduce your elevator authority with full power. And so that's what we're checking. And then we bring it back to idle, and then that comes back. And if that test fails, aircraft is grounded. You are not legal to fly. So we've done the variable elevator backstop test. We test this. So we hear the warning. We get the audio warnings. We get the unsafe sound. And we get the ECAMs. So you can turn that off. We're great. So I forgot ECAS. I forgot what these are called. I need to review about the G1000. And the flight director is on for some reason. So let's go ahead and turn that off. FD off. Cool. Right. So with all that done, we then need to go and put this in backup mode. Ah, they haven't modeled backup mode. Not the end of the world. We'll just use this one. So we're going to go into engine, system, fuel. Let's see gallons remaining. Engine. So it doesn't give us the quantity of gallons remaining. So if we say like, I think we've got full fuel anyways. So normally you'd have an indication here of how many gallons of fuel we have left. That's something this hasn't been modeled. Does still have a lean. Oh, there it is. Got the lean. It's in the lean page, but you can't set it. Okay, that's fine. So then we'd leave it in the system page because that's what we're going to need. Right. So with that then done, we leave it on the systems page, and that's when we turn on the strobe if we need it. I'm going to go ahead and select the ATIS for this airport. So let's. In fact, we're self-controlled. We don't need to ask clearance to start, so let's do the before starting checklist. So passenger briefing. I told you guys what we're going to do, yeah? So that's performed. Front baggage door is closed and locked. Rear door is closed and locked. Front canopy positions 1 and 2 are closed. Flow checks are completed. Parking brake is set. Electric masters on. The rudder pedals are set and locked. De-ice enunciator test has been completed. Variable elevator backstop has been checked. We did that, remember, with the throttle on the stick. Gear warning and fire detector have been tested. The G1000 powered acknowledged. Backup mode is unavailable. Fuel is checked and reset. MFD engine system is set. And lights as required. So, set the lights as required. So put on strobe because that's what the procedure at this school is, even though I disagree with it. So that's before starting checklist completed. And because we're not going to get a clearance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight onto 1228, which is the Unicom frequency for that's nav for VATSIM. And there's no control here. And we're going to say Trollhattan, traffic, Sierra Echo, Mike, Kilo, Romeo, Da62 on the apron, engine start, Trollhattan traffic. Cool. So now we can start the engine. So we got the strobe light on, check left side. This one doesn't have a window. We'd clear the prop, and then we'll do left engine master on. Oh, that started the engine straight away. Intriguing. I wasn't expecting that to happen. Or it's trying to anyways. There it is. Cool. So in the Da42, check 710 plus or minus 30. Check the oil pressure. So there's the oil coolant. Oil pressure is increasing slowly. It's in the yellow. We want it to be in the green within a minute or so. And that's looking like it is increasing in temperature. It's very low. I don't think that's realistic how low that is. Let's see. Oh no, there it is. It's in the green. This is trippy. Okay, we're gonna leave it on engine because errors. Cool. We'll check that we got enough power. So the ammeter. It says the left starter still going. Okay, so that's I tried to use a uh, a, a a control binding. That's not going well, so we'll just do it manually through the cockpit system. Fine, that's increasing in temperature. I can see the oil pressures in the green. Check right side, clear prop, get the master on. We will see the glow. I don't know if you saw that glow. Sorry, right glow's on. So it was probably on with the left side. I just wasn't paying attention. And it says alt air. Intriguing. We're using alternate static air. So the alternate static air in the Da42 is underneath here somewhere. Uh, there it is. Okay, so this clicks the alternate air. Good. Right, goes off. Right side's clear. Clear prop. Start the right engine. Easy as that. Love FADEC. 710 plus or minus 30. Oil temperatures. I can see there. They're in the yellow for sure. Have that increasing. Now that's worrying that they're still in the yellow. They're not in the red, which is good. Oil pressure's in the green. That's really important. So we're not going to do the engine run-ups until these two are in the green. Coolant temperature slowly rising into the green. Fuel temperature's fine, and then we got enough fuel quantity. Good. After the test, what we're going to do, I came up with an acronym, and I like it, FAP. So, flaps. So let's get the flaps up. Fuel selectors. So we're going to set these in crossfeed. And then the avionics master. So let's turn that on. And then P for pitot. So we got pitot heat off. So let's turn pitot heat on, and we see that it works. Great. Now you got the ESP off. I don't know what that is. That must be a Da62 specific thing. And then the second P was for PFD MFD to remove the backup mode, FAP. I love it. So flaps visually and on indication are up. So then let's go ahead and do the after start checklist. Oil pressure checked, engine instruments checked, flaps are up, fuel selectors, crossfeed, avionics master on, pitot heat checked, PFD, MFD, normal mode, after start checklist completed. Great. So let's start getting ourselves sorted. So first things first, we're going to set the QNH and whatnot. Now, let's get the airport information so that we can make decisions. So do we have an ATIS? It seems like we do not have an ATIS, just a tower. Alright, so if we don't have ATIS, we need to get our information elsewhere. Well, I'm going to use my phone. I'm going to get Aero Weather, which is an app, and I'm going to say ESGT, and I've got Trollhattan Metar. So I'm going to write it down. Let's be good people, good pilots. Turn on my pen. And I'm going to say information alpha, I guess, because we don't have information, so it doesn't matter. It wouldn't be a thing. Let's see. So it's today at 11:50 Zulu. So looking at the time, that was 20 minutes ago, which means we're probably due another METAR in a second. So the winds are 040 at 11, variable 010070, and today's Cav OK. Cool. And it looks like the weather is similar all day. So beautiful weather for flying today. Great if you're actually flying. Not so great if you want to practice IFR. So 040 at 11 knots. Let's put 11. There you go. So at this point, we've got, if we look at the DI, I always like to look at the DI. And one trick you can do is you can, if you do, like, you can do one or two things. So I'm going to set the CDI to lock 1 for now. And I'm going to put on the CDI, does the METAR give the QNH? It does, 1026. So let's write that in. Okay. Just realizing that you probably can't see my iPad right now. Interesting. Let's fix that. So share. Boom. Cool. Right. Let's check the stream. Nah, I still can't see my iPad. That's so disappointing. Okay. Okay. So you can't see this. Now I wonder if I do recording. No. Right, iPad. There you go. If we change the capture specific window, capture any full screen, then capture specific window, and then we do okay. Well, this is not a good start, is it, guys? Right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna close the app completely. Then we're gonna share the screen again. Unable to share. That's fine. We are pilots, people. We can problem solve anything. Except this, apparently. Okay. Well, that sucks. Hey, puppy. My dog just came back from dog walking. You had good fun? Good girl. Good girl. Okay, well, we'll figure this out later. Currently, I would like to keep practicing. So the winds are from 040 at 11 knots. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put the airplane, so the CDI, I'm gonna put on the runway inbound, which is 323. So we get the course, which is the inside one. We set it to 323. So let's go ahead. 3, 2, 3 on the CDI. So that's the direction we'll be taken off. And then what I can do is with a heading bug, I'll go ahead and I'll select it on the wind, which is 040. And so that kind of confirms that I want to depart runway 33, right? There's a little bit of a headwind, mostly a crosswind. You can tell by the perpendicularity of the white hollow circles relative to the CDI. They're a 90 degrees angle, and that heading bug is ahead of it. So that's a headwind. So we know that we got a right headwind. Anyways, so that's that. So we know we're going to be using runway 33, QNH 1026. So we don't have a cap 140. It's all the GFC 700 goodness. So we're going to go ahead and select 1026, and that should give us an altitude of, looking at the charts, altitude of approximately 137 feet. So 150, call it accurate enough. Good. So with that done, And then if we had the cap 140, we put the pressure in there. One thing we can do though is we can test the autopilot. So let's do it. So I'm going to engage the autopilot. So AP on. And we got roll pitch. That's fine. It'd be roll VS or roll pitch. And then we're going to check that we can overcome the autopilot controls, which right now we can't, but in real life we could. We can then engage the heading mode. So we're going to go ahead and set heading. And then what we're checking, so I don't think this will happen in the sim. So if I rotate it to the left, it's happening. You can see the stick going to the left. If I rotate it to the right, stick goes to the right. You see this button at the top here? That's the CWS. So you can see there, CWS, control wheel steering, which basically allows you to take control of the stick freely while the autopilot is still engaged. You press it, you can set the airplane where you want, you release it, autopilot takes over again. We are not simulating that, so then we'll pretend we did it and it works, and then we press the red button to disengage the autopilot. Fabulous. So I'm going to leave the heading bug on the what's it called? The wind direction, and then let's turn off the FDs, and so all the autopilot indications disappear. So that works, and that's fantastic. Next, can we set the flight ID? We can't. So on the G1000, the real one, you'll have a flight ID you can set at the bottom of the box, so we can ignore that for now. No idea what ESP is. Let's have a look at the engine instruments. Yeah, so oil temperature slowly increasing here. Good. Let's do a flight plan. So, can I set NDB? Yes, I can. Perfect. So what we're going to do next is we are going to set the NDB. We're only going to use one for now. So we're gonna look at Papa Golf based on that ILS approach chart I showed you before my iPad disappeared, which really frustrating, by the way. Let's try that again. Unable to connect. That's fine. Okay. So it's appearing for me on my computer, but it's not showing up. Ah, there it is, showing up for you. Fabulous. Cool. So Papa Golf, which is 325. So we're gonna set 325 on this one. So 0, 3, 2, 5. Enter to confirm, enter to switch. And so now we have that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the PFD options, and I'm going to use bearing 2, and I'm going to set it on the ADF 325. Now, because we are on the G1000, the ADFs are not automatically identified. So we need to ensure that we're listening to the correct ADF. So for Trollhattan, you can see right here the Morse code. So we're going to turn on the ADF audio, and I can hear it. So let's try it again. Wait until runs again. So dot dash dash dot dash dash dot Papa Golf. So we now know that we are picking up an ADF on 325.0, but we also know that that happens to be the correct frequency, which is the correct ADF, which is really important, right? So that's great. So in the meantime, we are going to get this. Let's see, this layout map off. We don't want the map. That's cheating. While we're at it, we're going to put this at the biggest zoom we can because we don't want to be able to see where we are because that's cheating. And I wonder if you could put this in a separate screen. No, you can't. That's a shame. So let's get rid of that. And then if we go back, we can go PFD options, wind. Option 1's my favorite, and you'll see why in a second. If we go to ADF DME, we can display nav1. We can leave it at that, like that for now. We're barely going to be using the DME in this flight anyways, but that's okay. I wish I could display the DME somehow. PFD options, bearing, winds, DME. There you go. Boom. Cool. So you can show the DME here, and then what you do is you go, not in here, and then if you want to change the DMEs, you can then display nav 1 or nav 2. I'm going to leave it a nav 1 for now. I don't think we're actually going to end up using it, but that's fine. Cool, so we got timer ref, that's all set. So next, let's set the actual routing. We're taking a really long time for this, but I am explaining things, and let's do it right. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to use this one here. I'm not going to use the main one because it's just for training. So the origin is here. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch it. Come on, if I can get the right one. S. Oh, ESGT. Okay, so we do enter. Runway. Good. So now it's telling us what runway. So we're going to say runway 33. We're going to do the RNP for runway 33. Good. That's the origin. En routes, we're not going to do anything. We're going to basically go to Papa Golf, but we'll leave that blank. And then the destination, we will do the same thing. So oops. SGT again. It's always the slow stuff, isn't it? No wonder loads of streamers just use like SimBrief or anything. ESGT. Cool. So Trollhattan, and then again we're going to use runway 33. Cool. Enter to accept. So we have no en route. So if we were to bother looking at the chart, which we can, you see basically nothing. Because just runway 33. Because if we look at the route, it's runway 33 to runway 33. Way. But what we can do is we go to procedures, we can select an approach. Since we're doing an RNAV, we're going to do an RNAV for runway 33. Now it only gives us the LPV, and that's fine. We'll select RNAV LPV. And so here's the point now. We can do vectors, we can do all sorts. I'm thinking we do GT650. Okay? So let's do GT650. And then we'll put the minimums in. Now, this is kind of cheating. We should really be doing that in the air. But hey, we know the approach we're going to be doing. So we might as well put it here. Now, we have LPV capabilities in this specific aircraft. However, I'm not going to take that chance. I'm going to assume LNAV CDFA. So I will have LNAV VNAV, so I will have the vertical guidance, but I am going to go by the descent rates. So assuming 100 knots approach speed on a 3-degree glide, expecting 530 feet per minute, right? And so that's the continuous descent flight angle. And so what I'll do here is we're going to use, it's an MDA, right? It's not a decision altitude, it's a minimum descent altitude. So I'm going to add 50 feet. So it says 500, so I'm going to add 50, so 550. So I'm going to increase that to 550. Now, this aircraft is actually capable of doing LPV, so we could, in theory, put 385, so 390. But again, I'm just adding that 50 feet. I'm going to load it. And so now, if we look at that chart, you'll see something very bizarre. If I zoom out, you see it going straight out. And you see this right here? That is the missed approach. Okay? So we're going to ignore the flight plan for now, which is why I'm going to keep it well zoomed in. But that's basically the path we're going to do. Because we're going to be at PG, which is right there. So if I... Can you use the joystick on this? Yeah. Here. So if you see here, you got PG. So I'm slowly moving my cursor up. Right? And you can see, can I move my cursor up? There you go. So you can see PG at the top there, right here. Oh, I see that it's my mouse is somewhere completely different on the stream. You can see PG there. Oh, hello, Ella. I don't know when you messaged that, but hi. And so we're going to hold here. We're going to enter hold. Most likely already knowing, in fact, I know that it's going to be an offset hold, so we can brief that in a second. And then we'll go ahead and we'll do the the approach, probably go for a go around. So what I'm going to do is we're going to depart. We're going to do the omnidirectional departure. What I'm going to say is climb to 2,000 feet, passing 1,000 feet, left turn, track of heading 270, and then that we'll climb to 3,000 feet, and then at 3,000 feet, once we're sort of 270, we'll simulate an engine failure. We'll actually shut down the engine in the sim. We'll enter the hold with a single engine in op, and then we will do the approach with a single engine in op. We'll do a go around. We'll enter the hold at Connox, and then from then on, we can choose what we should do. Either do an RNP or do an ILS or something. So short, sweet, and full of adventure flight. Now, in reality, if you were to experience an engine failure in conditions like this, I would most likely just request a visual approach. But again, we're here to practice, so let's do it. So finally, so we've done this. So let's set 3,000 feet, and that's confirmed with the magenta blue. And then let's do a briefing. Right. So we've basically done all of it, but let's do the official briefing. So we've discussed it. So departing omnidirectional departure from Trollhattan, 3,000 feet, climbing out runway heading. After passing 1,000 feet, we'll make a left turn heading 270. Before we will then vector ourselves back to Papa Golf. Threat and error management. We've got a decent crosswind from the right, so stick into the wind on departure. And yeah, so that's fine. If we get that right engine failure, remember that with the shuttle cocking and on takeoff, that is, with the shuttle cocking and the wind, it's gonna and the engine failure and asymmetric thrust, it's gonna be quite difficult to maintain directional control. Other threats and errors, can't think of anything. They're probably going to tell us, if it was real life, they'd probably tell us, oh, caution, bird activity in the area or something. But I don't know, a single airport in the world that doesn't do that, and that's fine. Other threats and errors, I'm flying this aircraft as if it's a Da62 rather than it's a Da62, which means we might get some unexpected behaviors. So let's keep on the lookout for that. Also, I have two sets of fuel pumps. We've got these two and these two. In the Da42, it's just those two, so I'm going to be turning on extra fuel pumps. So threat and error management, error being we could accidentally turn on or off the wrong fuel pumps. And yeah, that's it for threat and error management. So I think... Oh, we got one more thing to do. I always forget to do this in flight sims. Let's do the box check. So this is looking fine. And then we look out of the window and we check that left goes up, left goes down. In the rear, we would stick our head out, check the elevator, that's correct, and do the same here. So we've done the box check, we've done free and correct. So then let's go ahead and get the before takeoff checklist is going to be here, but we're not going to do it quite yet. We're going to do it at the runway threshold. Just going to check my oil temperature here. Yes, it's stabilized just in the yellow here. So we're going to taxi. So Trollhattan traffic, Sierra Echo Mike Kilo Romeo, taxi holding point run Alpha. It's Trollhattan traffic. So I said Alpha. I hope it's Alpha because I forget. But that looks right. Yes, holding point Alpha. Oh shoot, holding point Mike. Trollhattan traffic, Sierra Echo Mike Kilo Romeo, correction, taxiing holding point Mike. Trollhattan traffic. Cool. So taxi light on. Everything's clear. Let's get the parking brake off. Add some power. Did I just turn on the parking brake? Probably did, didn't I? Huh. Okay, something is turning on the parking brake. Interesting. Huh. Most interesting. Right, let's look at the FSU. Did FSU IPC just crash? No, there it is. Cool. Axes. Rescan. Left brake. Rescan. Right brake. Right. Let's joystick. Left and right brake. Let's unreverse these. This is so bizarre. Oh. Also that's strange. Okay, so everything that could go wrong is going wrong. Right. Rescan. Let's go calibration. Reverse, reverse. Okay. We're gonna get the assignment, axes assignments. Rescan. Rescan again, please. FSUIPC, what art thou doing? Rescan. Flaps, okay. Alright. Great. This is exactly what I wanted. Oh my god. Okay. What is the meaning of this? What is going on? Normally that's parking brake on. And now it's off just automatically. I didn't touch anything there. Let's do this. Let's do a rotation. Go slightly there. Go here. And this is not working. Something. Oh, there you go. Okay. There was a control. All right. Interesting. Yep, there you go. That's a parking brake. Don't do this, ladies and gentlemen. Don't do this. All right. So, brakes checked, I guess. Right, let's do the turn checks. Positive, positive, correct, negative, negative, correct. Happy days. We'd offer the instructor to check their brakes. Is there no heading indication in the standby instruments? Interesting. None at all. Okay. You shouldn't do this while taxiing, but let's do it anyways. I'm gonna test the first one. So there it is. So I'm gonna use a little bit of testing both ECUs, left and right, and that worked. So let's do the right one. Okay, looks like I never finished the left test. So let's finish that one. Okay, cool. Don't do what I do, ladies and gents. Break your airplane. Cool. So with the ECU's test, we're going to go from auto to alpha, then back to auto, if I can. If I can find the exact right point to click. Then from auto to Bravo. No, not Alpha. To Bravo. 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 There you go. And the engine's still running smoothly, so that's fine. Back to auto. Do the same on that one. Alpha. Engine's running smoothly. Back to auto and then on Bravo. Running smoothly. Happy days. So now we can set this back onto normal. And then we're going to do fuel pumps on. Actually, nope, too early for fuel pumps. What we can do, in fact, is the before takeoff checklist. So, let's see. So before takeoff checklist is going to be departure information and clearance received. Altimeter set and checked. FMS setup completed. Nav aids and RAIM. I did not check RAIM. And I set up the nav aids, but I don't think RAIM is simulated here. I could be wrong, which would be great. No, it isn't. See GPS status and all that. Assume checked. So nav aids and RAIM checked and set. Circuit breakers, let's check them again. None of them have popped. Flaps are up. Autopilot has been checked. Trims are set. Flight controls checked. De-ice pressure low caution checked on. So that would come on the PFD. It's not, but that's just a simulation thing. Engine instruments in the normal range. Indeed they are. ECU test checked, voter switch is checked and set back to auto, fuel selectors are on, no gyroscopes on this one, but the standby instruments are working fine. Briefing including threat and error management have been performed, transponder and flight ID sets, and before takeoff checklist down to the line, check both sides, I see nobody coming in, so I'm going to say Trollhattan, traffic, Sierra Echo, Mike, Kilo, Romeo, entering backtracking runway tree Trollhattan traffic. So ATTPL, the approach is clear, transponders automated. Time is 12:38. Pitot comes on. We're doing an IFR flight. Lights. So let's do position and no landing lights yet. Position lights on. And then fuel pumps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. So then we're going to go ahead and remove the parking brake. And we're going to start taxiing onto the runway. Okay, checking both sides. I would love to try this in VR, to be honest. That'd be quite fun. Taxiing way too fast. Don't do this at home, ladies and gents. Get some ambience light on. Hey? Yeah. Oh, that wasn't full, was it? Cool. Cool. And I'm going to set the heading bug onto 270 because that's where we're going to go to after departure. Stall heat fail. Right aux fuel empty. Well, that can't be good. Okay. We're gonna check that. And right aux fuel empty. Okay, maybe the setup in the main menu didn't work properly. That's fine. Let's turn. We'll turn these off then. And not use them anymore. So I turn one off. Turn the other one off. Pitot heats fail. Now, why did the pitot heat fail? Probably something to do with power, by the looks of it. Look at that. Left aux, 18 gallons. Okay, let's turn these off because we've got full tanks. Alright. So let's go below the line. So fuel pumps on, front cannon be closed, pitot heat on. Before takeoff checklist completed. Stall heat fail. Let's try that again. Take off. Stick to the right. Power set. Engine instruments checked. Airspeed's alive. Way. And rotate. There you go. Alright, positive climb. Gear up. And this is when this becomes our whole world, basically. Trim away the effort. Alright, 500 above, so power back to 90. And we never turned on the landing lights. Bad boy. We're going to turn it off in a second anyways, but still. Keep flying the aircraft past 1,000 feet. Let's make a left turn, 270. And we can reduce it back to 7.5 degrees now. There at 90% power. And watch your heading. Very bad flying. Very, very bad flying. Okay, so we need to trim nose down a little bit more. Let go of the stick. Okay. Trim nose wheel. Let go of the stick. Nope, still a bit more. Okay, that's looking better. $1,000 to go, 3,000 magenta and blue. Happy days. So let's do after takeoff check. So fuel pumps off. Landing and taxi lights off. Altimeter for 3,000 feet is 1026. Set. Alright, let's open the checklist. Fly the aircraft. Climb. Gear and flaps. Gear is up, flaps are up. Climb checklist. Gear and flaps up, fuel pumps off. Holding at fuel pumps. Set about 2.5 degrees. And then I'm going to set 50% power. I want to fly at about 120 knots. Whoa. Now let's correct the heading. Trim away the effort. Flying really badly. I'm flying with my left hand on the stick on purpose. Normally I'm used to flying with the right hand. It does make a bit of a difference, I have to say. More than I thought it would. And that's giving us about 130 knots. I'm going to use a little bit of right rudder. Said a little bit. Okay. So we're a bit high. Now it's giving us 130, so about 50% power normally gives us that. I'll give us 120. So I'm going to reduce power to about 40 now. Okay, so the control mapping is causing issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into here. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the heading on the autopilot, select the alt on the autopilot, and I am going to engage it. Heading, AP, yaw damper, alt. Didn't even know this airplane had a yaw damper. That's great. Right, axes, joystick calibration. I'm going to say reset, reset, okay. And then we'll bring it back to about 40-ish. There you go. That's looking better. Cool. Right, continue climb checklist. Fuel pumps off, lights is required, altimeter set, climb checklist completed. So that's the main thing really when you're doing checklists. Yeah, like don't let the checklist take priority over everything. I think a lot of people when they first start flying, especially when they start doing airliner stuff, like I remember once in my type rating on the skills test, I was flying with a guy with slightly less experience than myself. We did the takeoff, and in the Airbus procedure, you have to do the after takeoff checklist. But the examiner basically put up a bunch of massive thunderstorm cells in front of us at the departure, and I was like, "Oh, we need to avoid these. Request, can you can you get this heading for us so we can avoid the thunderstorms?" And the guy who had a bit less experience than myself said, "Do you want the after takeoff checklist?" I'm like, "No, I want you to request the headings." Like, but we haven't done the takeoff checklist. Like, yep, we can do that after we don't fly into thunderstorms. And it's quite, procedural mindset can really, it's really useful, but it can sort of sometimes backfire on us. Right. So 40% is giving us about 125 knots. So I'm going to smidge it, try and get it around 38, see what that gives us. 35, 38. Um, and I think that's correct. Right. So now the airplane's flying itself. I'm going to disconnect the autopilot. I'm going to turn off the FD. And then I'm going to pick a throttle quadrant at random. I'm going to take one finger, stick it on my throttle quadrant, and bring it back. Okay, so I'm going to put power to full, get rudder all the way in until we're roughly centered. Fly the aircraft. Stop from descending. Make sure we're blue line or above, so it'll be the same as VY for this aircraft, even though it's called VMCA. Okay. So, dead engine. So dead leg, dead engine. So right leg is dead. I'm going to check my throttle lever, and normally I'd bring the throttle lever to idle. However, I've done that already. So confirmed right engine failed. Let's not stop flying the aircraft. So we're going to go, okay. So right engine master off. And right engine fuel cutoff. Okay, so now I can increase that back to about 20% to stop it from screaming at me. And I've got loads of left rudder, so I'm going to start slowly. Is that not working? Slowly increasing that left rudder trim until I no longer need to put so much trim in, so much rudder in. And it's going to be almost full trim if I remember correctly. Too much. Trim, 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 trim. It's much easier to do this in the real aircraft than it is on flight sim, because you can feel that pressure being removed in the real world. All right. So that was full rudder trim, by the way. Now we're sort of full power. What if I remove this? Okay, so can we get more rudder trim? Nah, we're in full. So we're going to have to keep left rudder the whole way. Okay. Let's go ahead and make our HU PG. So I can see that we've lost the PG ADF. So I'm going to turn roughly in the correct direction. Best thing I can do, really, isn't it? So I'm going to do a right turn. "200 feet high." Let's fix that, eh? Let's do right alternator off as well. And I think something like this, like 120 roughly. I think that might work. We're still climbing, so let's keep that in mind. Let's reduce power to about 90. Let's see what that gives us. Oh, don't lose altitude. And we're going to turn. We're going to do... Of course, with full power, we needed a full left rudder, but of course, with when we reduce power, we can reduce the rudder trim with the asymmetric thrust. So I'm going to try 80% power, see where that gets us. Flying 20-degree bank, descending a smidge. Think I might just land off of this RNAV just because of the time. Okay, good. So this aircraft needs you to stick the nose on the horizon as opposed to the 2.5 degrees up. Okay, so leveling off here. Okay, and yeah, way too much left rudder now. So let's reduce that left rudder trim. Ah, too much. Reduced it too much. Oh, we're descending. Don't forget to fly the airplane, huh? So this is why we practice. Okay, so in the meantime, we don't have the NDB, which is not ideal. Why are we descending? Um, we don't have the NDB, so let's try going direct to and then setting PG. Fly the aircraft, fly the aircraft. I think that's G. Let's look. Yep, that's G. Enter. Pakistan. Ah, okay, NDB Sweden. Activate. Okay, so while we're waiting for the bearing, there you go. So let's turn now. So while we're waiting for the bearing for the actual NDB to come up, I'm selecting direct to on the GPS, and then I'm putting the bearing indicator on bearing 1 now. It's like a relative bearing indicator, RBI. Now, of course, it's easier with this because there's no ADF dip and that kind of stuff. But better than nothing, eh? So I can see my track, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix it. And I said it was an offset, but it is. Cool. So offset is 30 degrees. So the outbound, so 323 would be 143. So minus 30 because we're going to the left is going to be 113. So I'm going to set the heading on 113. So that's the heading I'm going to take once I'm flying over, once I've passed over the beacon. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take half crosswind correction. Now, right now I'm flying at 100 knots. So I'm going to increase power a smidge. We're going to slowly accelerate to around 120 knots if we can. Because then if we fly at approximately 120 knots, we can use 1 knot per so 1 knot per second and 1 knot per degree correction, which I think I'm getting here now. So if we look at, come on, give us more juice. Wait, hold on. Yeah. Okay, cool. Right. So, 1 degree. So except that on offset holds we do half of it. So if we say 10 knots of crosswind, we're gonna set a correction of 5 degrees. There you go. That's live, so we can turn that off. Bloom. Cool. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the timer ref. We're going to use the timer quite a lot in this. And we're just going to fly. Apparently not very well on instruments. Honestly, like, really terrible flying today. Um, and what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 minute outbound. So right now I'm seeing about 10 knots of crosswind. I think it's going to be about 12 knots. So I am going to preempt with a 6 knot correction into the wind. The wind's coming from the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 clicks. If it was 113, that should be 107. So I made a mistake there. So there you go. 107. Nice. So now we're going to do an offset entry, or what the Americans call a teardrop entry, which frankly I find far more elegant than what we call it. And then we'll start the timer, and we'll do that for 1 minute, and then we'll turn right to go inbound, and then that will give us basically the entry into the hold. We'll be flying inbound into the NDB, and we can do the outbound hold. We'll do 1 or 2 circuits. We'll see depending on the time, and then we'll do the RNP approach and call it a day. All right. So the closer we get, the more sensitive it is. Now I got a little bit of a cheat because I set the direct to. If I look at the top, if you look at the FMA, the flight mode annunciator, right above it, you got this. And that's telling me PG is 11 miles out on a bearing of 088. And that's kind of cheating. But essentially, what I know is that the closer I get, the more sensitive the bearing gets. And so at some point, it doesn't become productive to try and follow the bearing anymore, because what's going to happen is that it's going to get so sensitive. You're going to be flying back and forth, back and forth. So at that point, you just maintain your heading, and then you wait until it flips, and then you know you're passed over it. And so that's basically what we're going to do. Now we know we're 10 miles out. That's close enough, right? So we're just going to fly towards it. The other thing is, you might be wondering, hey, why don't you have the arrow underneath the heading? So you're now doing a heading 076, 077, and the bearing is pointing to the right. And the answer is, that little diamond thing, like the magenta diamond, that is what we call a track diamond. And that's telling me the direction I'm actually flying in. If you look here, 10 degrees of crosswind, right? So or 11, 10, 11 degrees of crosswind. So that means that I've got 10 knots coming from the left, which means it's pushing me towards the right. And it's pushing me towards the right by about 15 degrees, as you can see with that diamond. Excellent. So, now that we're all familiar with the instruments, life is great. Eee. Getting distracted there, mister? I am indeed. Okay, so remember, with IFR flying, it's all about small corrections. If you're at a point where you need a really sort of drastic corrections, like drastic angles and all that kind of stuff, then really that means you probably should abort what you're doing, go around, try something else, right? Uh, like, so for example, in the ILS, if you're on the glide slope and you're doing sort of bigger than 10-degree heading corrections, then really you should be going around at that point. Like 10 degrees is a good correcting angle. Like maybe I'm exaggerating 10 degrees, maybe more like 20, but still really really small correction angles. Typically like 5 knots maximum, sort of pretty standard. Except if you're quite far out, then you can use bigger correction angles. And one other situation which I'm going to show you in the offset, the teardrop. I use a little technique which makes it a little bit smoother and a better entry hold. Not really the standard, but it works quite well. But let's see. So we're now 5 miles out. Wow, it does take a while, doesn't it? And I have to keep holding this stick to the side. Look what happens when I let go of the stick. Whee! Off it goes, yeah? And that is what sucks about engine failures. The other thing that sucks about engine failures is that when you're on final, um, you're going to have to undo all that rudder trim or get the opposite rudder in as you reduce power because that asymmetric thrust disappears. So the whole point of having that rudder trim in disappears as well, right? You no longer need that rudder trim input. So as you reduce power, if you're not careful, the aircraft will then yaw in the opposite direction, in this case to the right. Cool, so we're 3 miles out, so we're getting really close. So seeing that's about 10 degrees, if I turn to the right, that I will be turning to the right about 45 degrees-ish, and it's 7 knots, taking 3, so take about half of that, so about 3, so I'll be 14, 7 degrees, so 6 was about right. So I'll leave the 6-degree correction angle, see what that gives us. In fact, I might increase it by 1, so let's do 1 more, so 106. Okay, so it's getting more and more sensitive as we get closer. A little bit of bumpiness, which is quite surprising. Good. And because we're approaching, we're gonna say, let's do the descent checklist. Weather and ATIS is gonna be the same. Navaids and RAIM have been set up on the ground. Briefing, we haven't briefed that, so let's do a briefing once we're established in the hold. Okay, 1 mile out. So this is where the RBI, the relative bearing indicator, is going to get really sensitive. So let's keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on altitude. Get ready to start that timer. And there's the outer marker, which is associated with the NDB. So I'm just going to mute it for now. And there it is, flipping over. So I'm gonna, okay, you should still shut up. And then I'm putting the track diamond on the heading bell. Not my heading, but the track diamond. And then I'm going to start the timer. Okay, and we're going to fly this direction for 1 minute. And you can see that maybe I was being a little bit too conservative there with my estimate on the crosswind, but oh, that didn't start the timer. Okay, we'll remove 10 seconds. So instead of 1 minute, let's say 50 seconds. Yeah, always confirm the timer actually started, eh? So I use half the crosswind correction of what I estimated would be going outbound. Because we're at an angle of 30 degrees, sine of 30, 0.5, half the angle. Okay, so we're now coming in 10 seconds to go before we start our turn. And let's see if that gets us, how close that gets us to the inbound on that left turn. There's 50 seconds. Left turn. Basically got stick neutral here. And then we do a rate 1 turn. So we're doing 120 knots. Rate 1 is 10% of your TAS plus 7. So my TAS is about 120 knots. So that's 12 knots plus 7. That's about 19. So I'm just setting it around 20 degrees. And that will give us a rate 1 turn. Confirmed by the magenta. You can see the magenta stick at the top of the HSI. When it lines up with that white line, the longer white line, that's about rate 1 turn. So now I'm not turning towards the CDI inbound, which I've set up to make it easier to see. I'm turning towards the RBI, the bearing indicator. And that's looking pretty decent. Not too bad. Okay, it's time for my trick. My trick is go slightly beyond it. Keep the bearing on the inside, so towards the RBI head. Keep it towards about 10 degrees towards the CDI. And so what happens is that it's going to flatten out as you as you get closer and closer. And so it just means that it's sort of like a nice smooth curve. And so when you actually get to it, uh, you have a smaller angle to turn to go towards the outbound leg. So too much there, so let's let it get away from us a bit more. It's a cheat. Okay, this is a cheat. It's not how you're supposed to fly it. You're supposed to fly directly to the bearing and then basically then do the turn. But I like to do it this way because then it improves the corrections from your for your inbound when you're doing the outbound corrections. It makes it a bit more accurate. Now keep in mind I've got PG at the top, so I know it's about a mile out. So it is a bit of a cheat. Just a wee turn. Okay, so about half mile. I think I'll just start turning towards the. There you go. I'll start turning here. And so hopefully when I get to the CDI, that's when it's going to start flipping. There it is. A little bit off, but that's close enough. That's much closer than what I would have gotten if I had just flown directly to the RBI, to the station. Okay, so now we need to reset the timer. And I'm going to set the heading, turning too steeply, so watch out. And so we're going to do full corrections this time, both on heading and crosswind, so and head and tailwind. So I'm going to set it the heading bug to the CDI tail, which says 143. And so now we're going to take full crosswind and then full headwinds and tailwinds for the heading corrections for the 1 minute outbound. So level off here so that we fly perpendicular. So 4 knots tailwind, 13 knots crosswind. That's going to be 120. And we start now because it's already behind us. So I'm going to turn 120. I'm going to start the timer. So we've got quite a big turn to make because we've got quite a chunky crosswind, which makes it more fun, let's face it. All right, and so now after 1 minute minus the 4 seconds of tailwind, so that's 56 seconds, we're going to make a right turn, and hopefully that will get us nicely inbound, assuming we do a rate 1 turn and we've done the calculation correctly. So 56 seconds is what we're looking for. Because it was a 4 knot tailwind, so that means we're going to go 4 knots, quote unquote, faster. So we do 1 minute minus 4, so 1 second per knot. That's what, and if you're flying at 120 knots, we're going a little bit faster than that. So I'm going to reduce power just a smidge. So we might be a little bit off, and that's turn now. Let's see what that gives us. It might be accurate, might be not. Usually the first turn entry, right after you've done the entry, like the offset or the parallel, that kind of stuff, it's the first one is usually a bit off. So we keep the rate 1 turn, even if we start to see, for example, that it looks like it's going to be off, right? It doesn't matter. Just keep turning. Fix it once you're inbound. Maintain the rate 1 turn, about 20-degree bank angle is what I'm using. Even if it looks like it's going to be off. Hopefully this simulates ADF dip, because then that'll make it perfect. Trollhattan traffic, Sierra Echo Mike Kilo Romeo holding Papa Golf 3,000 feet. Trollhattan traffic. Trollhattan traffic. Okay. So a little bit off. So about 20 degrees off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn to the outside of the arrow. And then what that's going to do, it's going to push the arrow towards the CDI. Yeah? So just doing that. And that's great. So we can reset the timer and we can start looking at that chart. So, oh, so remember to fly. This is the important bit. Is to do all this while flying manually is always a hassle. And that RBI is definitely getting closer to the CDI, which is good. Right. Good. So we're going to look at the RNP, runway 33. Very difficult when you're flying on a single engine. All right, let's turn towards it. That's close enough. And now another little trick I use to give myself more time to think on the outbound leg is wait until the RBI flips. And then, like, completely. So let it flip. Let it be on the complete opposite tail. Confirm it's on the opposite tail. And now we turn. And that gives you sort of like 5 extra seconds to think on the outbound, like to make your corrections. Cool. So we did most of the briefing for the approach on the ground, but we're going to continue. We're going to do the briefing up here properly. I'm going to start with RNP approach runway 33. It's 1st of June 2018, 12-2. It's an agnos approach. That's fine by us. Making small checks like that. And then the final approach inbound is 323. Okay. Proceeded altitude is GT633, 2,000 feet. Cool. So let's stop that for now. The briefing will continue in a second. And so that looks 12 knots, right? So let's add, so yeah, so let's go do one more and then 5 knots of tailwind. So it's shifted about half a degree or so. So we'll just make that 1 degree correction. And instead of 54 seconds, we'll make it 55 seconds. And I'm late. Keep turning, get the track, not the heading on the heading bug. Good. All right, let's continue this. So we're not using the LPV minima, we're using the CDFA minima, 550 set. So it's 500 plus 50, that's set. So we start at 3,000 feet. We go to GT630. After passing GT630, we descend to 2,000 feet. I got pinged. Whoa. All right, sorry, that was flipping Vatsim talking to us, and me getting distracted with that. And there's the 55 seconds. That was a very poorly flown outbound leg. Let's turn 20 degrees inbound. Established in the turn. Continuing. So GT630, 2,000 feet to be at 2,000 feet at GT633, which is the descent point. Which is the final approach point, rather. 3 degree standard glide. Which so we expect for 100 knots, so we're expecting 530 feet. 530 feet per minute at 100 knot ground speed. Minimum have been covered. Expecting runway end lights, high intensity approaching lighting systems, and PAPI on the left side. In case of a go around, watch your flying. I'm going to shallow out my turn by about 15 degrees here. In fact, I keep it at 20. That's looking quite good. We'll discuss the misapproach when flying inbound. I'm going to... Better than last time, eh? Definitely better than last time, despite my crap outbound leg. So, not... So it's too much into the wind corrections, by the looks of it. Right, so... that's off. Gonna go ahead and turn this on. And was it this that we bring back? Let's find out. Okay. Wait. Where are you going? Okay. Missed approach. Straight ahead to GT933 is the initial thing. After GT933, left turn direct to Connox for a hold. And the hold is at 2,600. So that's why we need sets before we commence the descent. Cool. Let's talk about the MSA. The highest MSA I'm seeing here is about 3,000 feet. So follow the routing as will be below the MSA for the Connox hold. All right, just hold the heading because we're very close, so don't try to chase the RBI. Wait till it flips over. We were a bit to the left, so it's going to be slow on the flip. And then we turn outbound. Let's turn the left fuel pump on, since the engine that's not failed, to be safe. Okay, so thread and air management. Engine failed. We've got the rudder trimmed, so center the rudder. Fuel crossfeed off on the approach. Let's not forget that. Yeah, it's an emergency. We've declared an emergency. We just anticipate. Let's be proactive, not reactive. I'm going to start immediately with the correction. Start the timer. And this time, because we were overcorrecting, I'm gonna stick the track diamond to the edge, the right edge of the heading bug. Hopefully that will fix it. The fact that we are underturning, right? We're on the inside. That's fine. It's better to be underturn than overturn. Cool. So we've done the thread and error management. Because I can't think of anything else. Oh, also the go around. In case of a go around, with a single engine, make sure to really sort of get that right rudder in, so the left rudder in, sorry, with the right engine failure. Um, and then we really need to get, we're only going to do takeoff flaps, we're not going to do approach flaps because we've got an engine failure. And we're going to delay the gear coming down, I think. I forget what the procedure is for this, I need to check the notes. And let's turn. I was talking, and I messed up the timing. I think that means we're going to underturn again. So I'm keeping it sort of a I should keep it like relatively less steep turn. Like, so I'm keeping it slightly less than rate 1. The idea being that I make the turn bigger than I expected it to because I was outbound for too long. Come on. Really difficult to fly both an airplane and an iPad at the same time. Let's, well, see, there you go. This is what happens. Mind you, this is looking not too bad. Okay, I'll level it off here, keeping the track diamonds to the right, to the left of it. And let's do the descent checklist. Finish off the descent checklist. So weather received, navigate and rain received, briefing performed. That's the descent checklist completed. Approach checklist, seatbelts on. Let's do this. Try and do this manually as best we can. Seatbelts on. Fuel selector, crossfeed off. Fuel pump on. Just on the left engine, right engine's an op. Altimeter 1026 is set. And let's test the gear warning. So that's good. That's working fine. So then let's do the checklist properly. Approach checklist: seatbelts, fuel selectors, fuel pumps, parking brake is off, gear warning and horn off, altimeter 1026 sets. Down to the line completed. Right, so that's what that red line is. It means you wait until a specific point before you go below the line. Okay, so that's the approach down to the line completed. Let's assume we're cleared for the approach. So tax light's coming on. And then after I finish this turn, I'm going to go ahead and select direct choose. So I'm going to go ahead, just finish this turn here, and then select CDI. Watch the altitude. Very steep turn there. Okay, and instead of flying the corrected heading, I'm just going to fly the outbound track so that we can then select the approach. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go into procedures, activate approach. And then we're going to do CDI, GPS. So let's continue the turn. I'm going to leave the NDB bearing on for a few reasons. One, it's a separate navigation system from the words are hard today. From the GPS, the GLONASS, EGNOS, whatever you want to call it. Well, it's actually EGNOS, isn't it here? And it gives us a position. It's the middle or the outer marker for the ILS approach. So we'll have a relative position. We'll have a position relative to the runway, which is very useful. Okay, so we're now at 3,000 feet. We're inbound GT 650. So let's get that chart out. Again, hard to fly an iPad on an airplane with an engine failed at the same time. Chart. Okay. RNP 33. Okay, so we've got that vertical glide appearing now. It's preparing us to tell us that we need to start descending soon to 2,000 feet, which is great. And that's why I like RNP approaches. You just have to follow the buttons. Just follow the magenta line. Okay, so 650. So remember that we're going to go to 650 right now, which is the southern point. Or 4 miles. After that, we're going to make that left turn. And the great thing about the G1000 is that it gives you a timer. It tells you when to start turning. So you're going to start turning before you actually reach the point, which is really cool. Because, I mean, check. So we've got vertical track appearing. It's like a co-pilot. It's brilliant. And so it's going to tell us to start turning before we actually reach the point. So we can cut into the turn, not overshoot it. It's beautiful. Really fantastic system. And working title setting this up, I mean, kudos. And I'm glad it's finally going to be the default G1000 soon. And so what they want us to do, I wonder if they're going to want us, oh, there you go. So let's turn. I was looking at the iPad when they asked us to do that. I was boasting about that feature, then was looking elsewhere when it finally popped up. I'm going to turn off the left auxiliary pump soon. Oh, watch the altitude. Now it wants us to start descending. So there you go. That was pretty steep turn. Way too steep, actually. So I'm just going to level off here. Let the track diamond help us get back onto the track. And it wants us to start descending quite early for some reason. It's interesting that it's doing that. Intriguing. Okay, we can start turning a little bit here. Okay, so we can start descending. I know why. They want us to get down to 2,000 feet by GT 630. That's fine by me. Bring the power back a little bit. Set it to around 65. Let's get this a little bit that way. And let's turn. Wow. Okay. So you can see the second diamond. So we're really, really high now. But that's fine. Steep turn again there. Starting to really, really getting tired, I think, if you can tell by my flying. Just reduce power to about 50% now. 55%. Okay, so we're 2.5 miles from GT 633, which is the final approach fix, since we're doing a CDFA. So let's get onto 2,000 feet and stable before then. Or actually, they want us to sort of do a CDFA from here, which is actually quite clever. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring my iPad up. And then I'm going to get the distance tracks. Getting bumpy. So we'll do probably the 5-mile check. And we're a little fast, but 136 is the limit for the first set of flaps. So speed check, flaps takeoff. And so that is fully established in a second. And so that diamond has now become solid, and indicating that it's the final approach. Trollhattan traffic, Sierra Echo Mike Kilo Romeo, fully established RNP runway 33, Trollhattan traffic. Okay. So at 5 miles we want to be 1770. Speed check, gear down. So we are now on a ground speed of 106 knots. Let's check their lateral direction as well. So that's approximately 600 feet per minute is our target descent rate, confirmed by the magenta line. I've missed the check, so 4 miles, 1450. Okay, so approaching 4 miles, 1460, so we're about 10 above. That's about on profile. There's the auto marker. Good. So then at 3 miles, 1130. I was supposed to turn off the auxiliary fuel pumps, whatever. Okay. So 3 miles. 1170. 50 above, so we need to increase our descent rate. I am sort of going 500, 600 feet per minute. So this is, again, this is just degraded skills. Next distance section is 2 miles. That'll be the last one. 810. 50 low. Okay, and we're approaching the oh, too much. All right. We are definitely this would be a go around normally. I got distracted by the views. And minimums will continue. Okay, now's a good opportunity to try and center this if I can. Yeah, so keep in mind this would have been a go around considering what I've done, but I'm going to continue normally because I want to land here and I've got visual. I'm going to close the throttle early because I'm very fast. And see, that was the yawing I was telling you about that I didn't anticipate enough. Oh, okay. Very, very fast, thus the massive floating. Yeah, this would definitely have been a go around in most circumstances. We came to a stop. Happy days. Alright, okay, let's come to a stop on the runway. Trollhattan traffic, Sierra Mike Kilo Romeo, runway 33. I'm going to go ahead and try and restart the engine if I can. Uh, yeah, I think I borked it. There you go. Nice. So we got the engine running again. So let's go ahead and taxi. Trollhattan traffic, Sierra Mike Kilo Romeo, backtracking, runway 33 to vacate at Mike. Trollhattan traffic. Well, that was terrible. Never even turned on my landing light. Lots of mistakes. This is why we practice. But that was it. So we're going to vacate the runway and we'll do an after landing checklist. So let's get that up. And we never did below the line checks either. So this is what we should have done. Light, gear, flaps. Thankfully we had all of those. Okay. So we'll come to a stop right after the holding point. Trollhattan traffic. Sierra Echo Mike Kilo Romeo. Runway tree tree vacated. Trollhattan traffic. Set the parking brake here. And let's do the after landing check. Like the ice system is off. Flaps, let's bring them up. Fuel pumps off. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Pitot heat off. Light is required, so position and landing light off. After landing checklist completed, let's continue taxiing. And there you go. Well, disastrous by my standards, and I think disastrous by most pilots' standards, but we're alive. So that's a win. And let's get the alternator back on, actually. There you go. Remember, people, power idle before applying brakes. Very, very fast here. Very, very, very fast. All right. Parking brake. Set. Taxi light off. And let's do the parking checklist. Parking brakes on. Power lever idle for 2 minutes. Let's assume we've done that. In the real aircraft, you've got power lever idle while you're taxiing because The residual sort of idle power is enough to get you rolling. So it's super easy to follow this one. Avionics master off. Consumers off. Right. So don't know what that means. Engine masters off. So we started one, then two. So we're going to go two, then one. Strobe lights off. Electric master off. Interior lights, none are on, so off. Parking checklist completed. Thank you for watching, if you watched it. That's it, basically. Gotta go and do other stuff, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have loved to keep going. But that was disastrous. That was absolutely disastrous. But hey, we didn't crash, so that's what matters. I'm Tarek Merriface. I'll see you guys next time, and happy flying.